The episode kicks off in 1908. According to the show's creators, that's the era they plan to explore in the third season if the series gets renewed. We meet a stylish kid named Shaw, and let's just say today is not his lucky day. He's spending the afternoon at the Derry circus. The story doesn't even try to hide its references to the book. One of the carnival games has players throwing darts at targets shaped like turtles and clown. That's a clear nod to Maturin and Pennywise, the two entities representing good and evil that I already explained in my recap of the first episode. Anyway, Shaw spots a dusty haunted house and gets the brilliant idea to go inside, which is dumb as hell since he didn't even bring a buddy along to use as a human shield in case Pennywise shows up. Since Shaw doesn't know about the evil entity lurking around, he doesn't think twice when a creepy, skeleton-looking old man calls out to him from the shadows. Any halfway smart kid would have turned right around and stuck close to the adults in the main tent he'd just walked through. That would have been the safest way to stay off Pennywise's dinner menu, but not Shaw. Nope, our genius just has to go poking where he shouldn't. As he gets closer, Shaw notices the old man's missing an eye, which freaks him out almost as much as I freaked out when I first saw the witch from Snow White. Shaw bolts faster than shoppers on Black Friday and luckily bumps right into his dad. His dad, a military man, tells him to stop being such a baby and hands him a slingshot as a gift, which instantly cheers the boy up. Later, their car breaks down in the middle of the road and Shaw's dad asks him to buy some water from a stand run by 3 Native American kids. That's when Shaw meets Rose. Sparks fly right away between the two. Unfortunately, that chemistry doesn't earn him a discount, which sucks because he doesn't have enough money. The good news is, Rose is down for a little old school bartering and agrees to trade water for Shaw's slingshot. Days go by, and Shaw and Rose become close friends. They run through the Derry woods until Shaw gets a little too bold and wanders into the darker part of the forest. Rose warns him not to go there, but of course, as soon as he does, it's like he's been teleported somewhere else. A place where the birds don't sing and sunlight doesn't reach. Then Shaw spots that same old frail man again, only this time the guy starts chasing him. The man morphs into some kind of monstrous creature, crawling on all 4s after him. At this point, running is the only smart move, which Shaw does until he inevitably trips. Just when the creature's about to eat him alive, Rose shows up like a total badass and nails it with the slingshot. That hits Pennywise hard enough for Shaw and Rose to make their escape. Once they're out of the woods, Rose explains that Pennywise can't reach them from that side. When Shaw asks why, she tells him it's a secret, one we'll only find out in future episode. I always say it's better to prevent a problem than to fight it later. So honestly, Rose could have warned Shaw earlier not to go near that part of the forest. If she had, he wouldn't have run there, and Pennywise would have stayed trapped forever, since we know the military experiment eventually breaks through the containment barrier built by the local tribe. What I'm saying is, if Shaw had never seen Pennywise, the military probably wouldn't have found out about the creature, and therefore would have never started digging around Derry. Anyway, fast forward to the present, we see Lily's mom talking to the director of Juniper Hill Asylum. The doctor says he's increased her antipsychotic dosage after the supermarket hallucination, but warns that if Lily gets any crazier, he'll have to start a stronger and probably painful treatment. Meanwhile, Lily chats with one of the asylum workers she grew attached to during her first stay. The woman listens as Lily explains everything about the Bat Baby at the movie theater and how it got Ronnie's dad in trouble. The nurse says she believes Lily and tells her that if she truly regrets messing with her friend's dad, she needs to find a way to make things right. That's gonna be tough though, because things aren't looking good for Hank. The sheriff Clint drops by and offers him a cigarette. Hank accepts but says he prefers a different brand. Clint breaks the bad news. A witness claims they saw Hank near the movie theater at the exact time the 3 teens were killed. Hank sticks to his story, saying he was watching TV with his mom that night. That's when Clint pulls out another pack of cigarettes, the same brand Hank said he liked, all crumpled up. Clint cuts straight to the chase and tells him he'll soon have a permanent room at Shawshank Prison, a place notorious for how it treats anyone convicted of crimes against minors.
Do you know what they do to young boys in prison? You know, those sex-starved convicts just waiting for a fresh piece of meat?
Okay, well that's not that bad.
Hank's daughter isn't having a great time either. She's getting mocked by her classmates because her dad got arrested and accused of killing Teddy and the other teens. She's devastated and hides in the bathroom. That's when Lily shows up to face the music. She says she could tell the cops about the evil creature that attacked their friends at the movie theater, but she doubts anyone would believe such a crazy story without actual proof. So Lily suggests they take a picture of the creature. Ronnie ends up forgiving her backstabbing friend and agrees to the plan. Only problem is, neither of them knows how to develop film. Story cuts to the military base, where we see Colonel Fuller explaining that the soldiers have finished digging and inspecting the Cadillac they unearthed in the previous episode. The bodies inside the car were identified as robbers who messed with the wrong town, and when the people of Derry finally got sick of them, they decided to take justice into their own hands. Apparently, the car was buried to cover up the massacre. Fuller says the event happened in 1935, the previous Pennywise cycle. According to reports from that time, some witnesses claimed they saw the clown manifesting in one of his forms. The general is intrigued and thinks the car must have some kind of connection to Pennywise, otherwise Dick wouldn't have found it using his shine. Since the general's patience is running thin, he comes up with a brilliant idea: grab an object that once made contact with Pennywise so Dick can track the creature's location. To do that, Leroy, Dick, and Russo take a helicopter ride over Derry, trying to pinpoint where the monster's hiding. The object the general gives them, none other than the slingshot, the same one that belonged to the kid attacked at the circus earlier in the episode. Anyway, Dick places his hand on the slingshot and immediately starts twitching. He tells the pilots to head west, but the closer he gets to Pennywise, the more unhinged he becomes. Suddenly, Dick finds himself on another plane, like he's entered Pennywise's lair. He locks eyes with those glowing yellow eyes, and the clown asks who he is. Dick's too terrified to answer. That's when it hits him. He's not inside Pennywise's mind. Pennywise is inside his. The clown easily invades Dick's fears and uses them against him, forcing him to relive moments from the war. Dick struggles to fight back and looks up, seeing the corpses of Pennywise's victims hanging above him. Then his grandmother's spirit appears and tells him to run, cause he's way out of his league against this thing. Panicking, Dick tries to open a sewer hatch, not realizing he's doing the same motion in real life, pulling the release lever in the helicopter. He'd have fallen to his death if Leroy hadn't grabbed him, yelling for Russo to get them back to base. A few hours later, Shaw visits Dick in the infirmary. He praises the soldier's bravery and asks what the creature looks like. Dick just says it's cold and that it saw him, not the other way around. He warns that they're messing with something way beyond their control and begs Shaw to shut down the operation, which of course Shaw refuses to do. Shaw asks if there's anything else he can do for him. Dick takes the chance to request a new barracks for the black soldiers, one with a roof that doesn't leak during the rain. Shaw promises to take care of it and tells Dick to rest up for the next mission. Meanwhile, we catch up with Rose, now older, with wrinkles showing her years of wisdom. She's become a sort of matriarch among the native community and is attending a meeting to stop the military from digging up their land. It's clear most of the tribe doesn't know about Pennywise's existence. Their main concern is protecting their ancestors' burial grounds, but Rose is one of the few who does know the truth. We meet her nephew Taniel, who tells her the military found the 1935 Cadillac. He also knows about the creature and suggests launching an attack on the soldiers. Rose, however, tells him and his friends to hold off until she finds out exactly what the military is after. She decides to write a letter to the Air Force High Command, demanding they stop invading tribal land, though many in the community think it's a waste of time. Meanwhile, Will and Rich couldn't care less about politics. They're scarfing down juicy burgers and talking about girl. Rich admits he's got a thing for Marge, but before the conversation gets too wild, they're interrupted by Lily and Ronnie. The girls ask Will if he knows how to develop photos, and he says, sure, easy. When he asks why, they spill the beans about what really happened at the movie theater. Rich is the first to laugh it off, but Will believes they genuinely think the creature is real. The episode cuts back to Rose, who now runs a home decor shop. Shaw walks in, thrilled to see his childhood friend after 50 years. The general seems confused. He didn't remember her until he got the letter from the tribal community. Rose tells him that Derry has a way of making people forget the time they spent there. Shaw says his memories are slowly coming back and lies, claiming the military dig is just about testing soil to figure out how to bring clean water to Derry. He asks Rose to mark which areas are sacred so the army can avoid them.
I'm not lying, bro!
Of course he's lying. No, what he really wants is for her to reveal the area where they used to play as kids. Rose says she wants to believe him and will reach out to the tribal council to see if they can cooperate. But the smartest move she can make is to mark the wrong area, a place she knows Pennywise doesn't inhabit. That way Shaw will assume it's where the creature is hiding, thinking it's sacred ground, when in reality it's the opposite.
It's so ingenious.
We then jump to a flashback where Shaw tells Rose that his father's been transferred to another base, meaning they'll have to say goodbye. Rose looks heartbroken but tells him that he'll probably forget about her soon anyway, thanks to the strange memory loss effect Pennywise leaves on anyone who leaves Derry. Rose gives Shaw his slingshot back and explains this weird phenomenon to him. Cut to our not-so-bright quartet coming up with a plan to lure the creature out so they can take a picture of it. They don't have a clue how to actually do that, until Rich claims the monster is some kind of dark spirit that takes on the worst possible forms. According to him, his uncle from Cuba was a Santeria priest, part of a spiritual tradition that believes you can summon deities, or orishas, to take revenge on dishonest people. Their genius plan? Head to a cemetery at night and perform one of those rituals to draw Pennywise out. Yeah, not the best idea ever, but sure, go ahead kids. Later that night, Dick's invited to dinner at Leroy's house. As soon as he meets Charlotte, Leroy's wife, he slips into her mind and learns that she hates Derry. Charlotte explains she's a history teacher who once applied for a job at the local school but was turned down because of her skin color. She also reveals she used to be part of the national civil rights movement fighting for equal rights for Black Americans. But all that attention hurt Leroy's reputation in the military. When she steps out to grab dessert, Dick asks about Leroy's son. Leroy looks confused since he's never mentioned being a father around Dick before. The Major starts feeling uneasy. He admits he's getting the same weird vibe he felt back when he was attacked at the barrack. Somehow, he knows Dick was there and could sense the shine invading his thoughts. The pilot says he's met people who've known others like Dick. Special, gifted people who can do things most folks can't even imagine. Dick opens up and says he learned it all from his grandmother, the same woman he saw in Derry's sewers during his psychic trip. Leroy asks him not to ever do that again, saying it's the strangest feeling he's ever had in his life. Dick tells him to relax. When he peeked inside Leroy's mind, he couldn't sense any fear. It's like that part of his brain just doesn't exist. Maybe Leroy is the only guy who can face Pennywise on equal footing. In the final sequence, we see the teens lighting candles in the cemetery. They sit in a circle and wait. That's when Rich stands up to take a leak, annoying Lily and Ronnie. He's the one who said they couldn't break the circle. Rich gets flustered and starts saying the whole monster thing is just their crazy imagination. Big mistake, because Pennywise suddenly shows up and splits the cemetery ground wide open. The kids jump on their bikes to escape, but Will falls into the crack and ends up in a mausoleum. Rich isn't much luckier. He's chased by the ghost of his uncle, while Lily and Ronnie are haunted by the spirits of Susie and Teddy. The girls manage to snap photos of the ghosts, but everyone's got butterfingers. The camera hits the ground 3 times. Rich yells for Will to grab it, which he does, but then a voice whispers his name from inside the mausoleum. And of course, Will decides to check it out instead of running for his life. Dude, if you know a monster's out to eat you, the smart thing is to pedal away, not stop for a chat. But no, Will's as stubborn as his dad. He snaps a photo just as the creature shows itself. Luckily, he manages to escape, and the Fab Four break into the school to develop the photos. They pull it off and see the spirits of Susie and Teddy in the pictures. But the last one's the creepiest. The one Will took inside the crypt shows Pennywise's most infamous form, a clown, wearing a sombrero.
Yo soy el Pennywise, mi amigos.
The third episode turned out to be the highest rated one so far, and honestly, I agree. Every storyline was engaging, and it was awesome to see the writers tying together the different Pennywise cycles, hinting we'll get even more Derry backstory in future seasons. Plus, this episode had the best pacing yet, tightly written scenes that actually mattered, not just filler to stretch runtime. So yeah, my score for this one is a solid 8.5 out of 10. If you want the breakdown for episode 4, you know the drill. Hit that like button. Since we didn't lose anyone this time, the kill count stays at 0. I hope you liked the video, see you on the next one, and bye.